everyone, I'm Bonita from Pennies to Dollars and welcome back to my channel. I am a Midwestern farm girl who was raised by Depression era parents. My parents were born in 1929 and 1931, before Social Security, before food stamps, and before credit cards. So they knew how to live on what they had. Many of the things that I have learned from them are the basis for how I have lived my life, and I like to share those things with you. Today we are going to talk more about living frugally and what we can think about to maybe spark some of those ideas to help ourselves come up with more ways that we can save money for the areas that are really important. If you know that it doesn't cost you a lot to live, there is so much comfort and reassurance in that. You know that the inflation, you know that the rising costs of everything are not going to affect how you live. You know if there's a job loss, you're going to be okay for a while. You know if you have an emergency, you're going to be okay for a while. There is such a reassurance that goes along with being able to know those things are secure and that you have some sort of security there. If you can build savings and cut convenience, you can build that security, and you can build it in anywhere that you feel is the most important in your life. You can build it in your food pantry by having more food. You can build it in your bank account. You can have more of a sense of control in your day-to-day living and your choices. And you have more happiness that goes along with that. Sometimes people think that if you spend more money, you have more happiness, or if you have more money, you have more happiness. But for many of us that live frugally, we find that the happiness and the peace of mind that comes with knowing that you have that security, it means everything. And then you have the world wide open for your choices if you know that you have the money to pay for it. Appearances can sometimes be deceiving. Maybe you look behind me and you think, wow, she really lives simply. And I do live simply. But I have found, especially in this rural farm area where I live, you can see a guy in jeans and a t-shirt and you may think, wow, he just has jeans and a t-shirt. He doesn't look like he really has that much, and he may have $30,000 or more in the bank. So looks can be deceiving. Sometimes you see someone with a big house and a nice car and you think, wow, I wish I had all of that. But what we don't realize is that envy that we feel is sometimes an envy for debt. I knew someone whose spouse was getting a newer, bigger truck, and then she said to me, but it's okay because the payments will be the same. And I thought, oh my gosh, they're still making payments. And I just assumed, like a lot of us do, that everything was paid for. But no, it wasn't paid for. The payments would be the same. So that meant they were still paying interest on this very expensive newer truck. So sometimes those looks, they can be deceiving. So think about that if you start to envy other people and think that you don't have as much as they have. I always say I may not have a lot, but I still have most of what I started with. And so I feel like that means a lot. Not only have I been able to use the things that I still have most of, but I've been able to stretch my dollar by still using those things and keeping those things. And keeping track of things. Keeping track of things is so important. A lot of you are around the age that I am, and you share a lot of similar memories with me. And if you think back to when we were younger, when we had gloves or mittens, my mom would pin them to my sleeves with a safety pin. We didn't have multiple pairs of gloves. We didn't lose our gloves. I can't even imagine what would have happened if we would have lost our gloves. It was just expected that you left that pin hooked to your sleeve, and you somehow slid on your jacket and that glove at the same time so that you didn't lose those mittens. And that is some of the philosophy, I guess, that I think has been lost along the way. We just don't take care of our things. We don't keep track of our things. We know things are so replaceable. But if we can keep track and have most of what we started with, we don't have to keep repurchasing them. Many of these sayings you have probably heard in your lifetime, but they came from the Depression era. Make do or do without. Waste not, want not. A little dab will do you. Use it up, wear it out. Because anything that we wasted, we knew that it took our time and our energy and our money to purchase those items. So all of those things had to do with saving your money, being smart about spending your money, and taking care of your things. Things had multiple uses when I grew up. Even an old tire would be used to put around a rose bush to keep Dad from accidentally mowing over the rose bush. We reused everything we possibly could. Nothing was wasted. We didn't have a trash pickup. We didn't have anything like that where things just got thrown in and discarded and picked up. We used and reused everything until there just wasn't anything left of it. We became very creative with things. For instance, maybe you remember these old type of tea towels that are very thin. Mom would use them to cover pies. She would use them to cover the salt shakers, the pepper shakers, the sugar on the table to keep the flies away. These were used for so many things. Wax paper was used a lot growing up. We didn't have like saran wrap. We used a lot of wax paper to just like cover things in the refrigerator, cover things to let them raise, and then peel it off and reuse that wax paper. We used tea towels to dry our noodles. We used tea towels as table runners in case someone would sprinkle some salt to keep things from being on the table. We use these simple things that have now been replaced with things that we purchase that cost more money and are maybe more attractive than what they were back then, but they still got the job done. Sometimes I think if we could just keep track of our items, we would spend so much less money. I think that's why every household has too many pairs of scissors. In our household, scissors are almost a joke. I protect the scissors with my life. They are in a specific spot. If someone borrows my scissors, they better come back because I do love my scissors. And when I need a pair, I want to be able to find them. And we do have too many pairs because at some point we didn't keep track of things. But we do now. I encourage you to think about how you can use all of something. How can you reuse your leftovers and repurpose them? How can you reuse maybe a recipe screw up and then use it in a different recipe to save that food? Anything that we waste, we have spent our time and energy and our money to buy. So it's important that we limit how much of that we do waste because we have to make that up somewhere. Any forgotten items around the house can have multiple uses. So as you go through, maybe you're decluttering, maybe you're going through things for spring cleaning, look at your items and see, what can I use this for? Does it have another use other than what I'm using it for? Is it just sitting here dormant and I actually can benefit from having this item and it can prevent me from having to buy something else in its place? If we continue to do what we've always done, we'll always get what we've always got, which means that things won't change. If we want to change our situation financially, we have to make changes somewhere. They don't have to be huge, significant changes that make our life difficult. They don't have to be huge, significant changes that make our life less comfortable. Sometimes there can just be multiple little changes, and they add up when you put them all together. So I hope this has been helpful to you, and I hope to see you in the next video. If it's brought value to you, please give me a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.